my goodness. Okay. So the review embargo is over on Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. Needless to say, also it came out in theaters. So yeah, I'm not part of DC, so I don't get that impression. If anything, I'd be Marvel and Marvel, Disney, and Fox, which is unfortunate because I don't like Fox News, but I liked Fox shows, TV shows. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. Yeah, I think it's got a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I kind of agree with the critics. Yeah, this time. Usually I don't. It isn't the worst. It certainly isn't the best. It's certainly okay. It's better than Blue Beetle in that the character of Blue Beetle, most people don't know about. Yeah, there was a cartoon briefly recently, but the comic book is very old. It came out during the Golden Age, and people didn't know what Blue Beetle was. And Black Adam didn't work out last year because it was more. It seemed to be more of the Snyderverse going on, and people were actually, unlike the sycophants of the Snyderverse, the ones that weren't. We're tired of that stuff. We don't want to see it anymore. We're tired of this like angsty 90s era sort of superheroes need to be brooding and evil, which is just part of the problem that Mark's Cards and I discussed on Thursday about the superhero genre in general. The idea of the Man of Steel and Batman v Superman being Superman is just a big badass godlike character who has angst. Well, for one thing, he wouldn't have angst because he's a godlike character. And no, he's not dark and brooding because that would be Batman. So, doesn't make sense. Yeah, they turned it up to 11 in The Batman. Made him like, as somebody pointed out, I think it was Rob Burnett in the Campy show pointed out, it's Batman Year One. It's Long Dark Halloween. So yeah, if you think of it as that, and it works with the Arkham series that they're developing. But in this, but that's supposed to be gothic. It's supposed to be dark. Batman's supposed to be dark. Unless you go back to the 60s when it was funny and campy. Sometimes I do, because, the late great legend Adam West. That guy was quite a guy. Quite a guy. Anyway, so Burt Ward's still around, but I guess he's very, very old. Yeah, and we saw the Catwoman lady from the 60s Batman years ago. Almost. Yeah, 10 years ago, or more. But she's dead now. The Catwoman lady. Yeah. Yvonne Craig. Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, I'm not going to go into the whole comic book genre because why not go into the other things? Why not go into this movie? There was somebody that vaguely looked like C'est La Vie, but it probably wasn't him. It was probably Nerdrotic. And he was next to me, sitting in the theater. And there was previews for that Mean Girls remake, where they didn't show them being mean at all. So why is it called Mean Girls then? In the previous movie, there's a preview for Argyle, the one that I saw yesterday. I'm not going to make it a movie marathon and go to a movie every day. These are the two I'm going to see before Christmas. That's it. I'm not going to see any others. And the other one that I saw was the Godzilla -1. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Very good. Excellent movie. Mark's Cards also saw it, so yeah, just he's also seen it. Yes, he thought it was excellent. I said it was Best Picture of the year, and it's going to win. But over Oppenheimer. Although Oppenheimer will probably win the Oscars, because there's nothing else. For 6 months, Hollywood was closed down during that strike. There's nothing else. They're not going to give Barbie the Oscar. Well, they might give Margot Robbie Best Actress for playing Barbie, but that'd be interesting. But, yeah. Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. Yeah, so, and he's a Batman villain. He was a Scarecrow. So yeah, but yeah. So yeah, so there were other previews. There were previews for Dune 2, a preview for There was a preview for the Bob Marley movie. There was a preview for something else, some other action movie. Oh well, doesn't matter. Let's go on to Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. First impressions just out of the theater, having gotten back literally like an hour later. So right out the gate, the controversy of this movie, which had been held back for a year, because I know some stuff. Controversy was that Amber Heard divorce case with Johnny Depp had blown up while they were making the movie, and so they basically cut 90% of her scenes out of the movie, maybe more than 90%. She's in it, mostly as CGI mermaid lady coming at bad guys and shooting them, or CGI lady lying there with like the one of them blasts her at one point, bad guy, lying there injured. The trailer is a paint by numbers. You can kind of tell what's going to happen. Yeah, don't do that with your trailers. And yeah, and Amber Heard is barely in it. She has, I would say, all of 6 minutes of, maybe 6 minutes of screen time, but 2 of dialogue, maybe 3. She's hardly in it. She says, "Oh my baby" at one point. She says, "Let's stop the bad guy" at one point. Yeah, stuff like that. Little like they could have dubbed this in post. They could have replaced her actually easily. Just somebody else. Just don't explain it. Amber Heard's not in her movie anymore. Unlike the Flash movie where they had to make it Ezra Miller, and he was controversial too, for kind of the same reasons that the Marvel guy over there is in trouble. Similar, but Ezra was not charged with anything. But apparently, in the case of the guy that was playing Kang over there at Marvel, he actually was charged with something. So they kind of got to distance themselves from over there. And they were going to do that anyway. Disney guy, I know. They were going to do that anyway. The Kang Dynasty story arc wasn't working. After they saw after they saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the critic, the big wigs realized, oh shit, the audience doesn't want Kang. They really don't. The problem is that most people that aren't Marvel fans did not see Loki and don't know who this guy is. That was the problem with that. And also, one of the problems with The Flash was that in DC, no, what's the difference? It's DC. Oh, what's that? Okay, you have Michael Keaton, Batman, but you don't do anything with him. The last act, the last act becomes a Zack Snyder movie. I might have said Michael Bay earlier. I meant Zack Snyder. A Zack Snyder movie at the end with a Zack Snyder villain, and he defeats Batman and Supergirl, and then almost him, and then Ezra escapes into the past timeline, so he escapes. And that's just lame. That ending was stupid. That movie could have been great, but you guys blew the ending. Don't kill them off. You don't do that. Yeah, you don't. You can come over to this movie, where the stakes are clearly not going to be killing off Aquaman's baby. They're not doing that in a Disney movie, in a Marvel movie. I mean, yeah, no, not a Marvel movie. They're not doing that in a DC movie. Yeah, a DC movie you have. That's when the guy next to me got up and moved over like one seat and sat in front. They're gonna kill the baby. He's all, damn it! Ah, and he walked out. Like, I was just guessing, dude. Don't leave. He wanted the baby to die, apparently. So that's fucked up. Aha! Anyway, so no, they weren't gonna do that. They weren't gonna do that. Yeah, it suffered from all kinds of rewrites. It was a mess. There were some very cool fight scene visuals, eye candy kind of things. There was a major fight in the beginning. There was the bad guy commandeers a Atlantean submarine and starts refining some kind of weird ore that they've got on the planet. It wasn't unobtainium. It was something like octimium or something. They kind of changed the name a little bit, but and there's refining this ore on this Devil's Island place, and it's not clear as to whether that was in the Antarctica or not. They kind of go with the Atlantis, Antarctica, Other Kingdom conspiracy theories. They don't go for the Africa one with the African caldera that they found. They don't go for that one. They go for the other one. Anyway, Devil's Island. Yeah, Black Manta is the bad guy, which is problematic anyway because, yeah, for obvious reasons that would probably tick off the right ringers in that it's basically a Samoan guy and a white guy versus a black guy. That would make them puzzled, and also they wouldn't like the climate change angle that they spend the last half hour of the movie hitting everyone over the head with climate change. But the bad guy's speeding it up using his refinery of this nuke fuel that he gotten a hold of, that he got from the bad guys. Unfortunately, the bad guys have a dumb name. Their old kingdom buried in Antarctica is called the Necros Kingdom. Yeah. How does that work? It's probably from the comics and comic books. You got to write it for an audience that can understand it. He's making zombies and then gets trapped in the ice. He's the evil other side of the kingdom and the Trident thing. Aqualad, who's the kid, is supposed to grow up and become Aqualad. So he's not going to die. So we know he's not going to die. It's canon with the... he's not. I mean, I wasn't giving anything away. It's just like, I'm going to do that. But yeah, it was kind of like yet more of the Zack Snyder shit. Even though it was a director from before, James Wan, who made $1 billion on the last one. And I think that came with a perfect storm, though. When Aquaman 1 came out, it was right after a mid-tier Marvel movie had come out. I think it was one of the Ant-Man sequels. So everybody flocked over to the Aquaman one afterward and went and saw it after they saw Marvel. That's what happened. So I think that was the one, yeah. And Ragnarok was awesome. So they were into, that was at the height of the superhero thing. And I didn't mind the Birds of Prey movie, even though John Campea hated it. I thought that Birds of Prey, it shouldn't necessarily have been Harley Quinn in the Emancipation of Birds of Prey, because it doesn't make sense. Birds of Prey is not related to Harley Quinn at all. They barely meet in the comics, but they made them meet. And I didn't mind so much the Marvels with the other two shows, because the WandaVision girl that shows up in Photon, I've seen WandaVision, so I got it. But I can understand why people that haven't seen WandaVision or haven't seen Loki and the other ones be really confused, and haven't seen Ms. Marvel, but I heard it was good. But I've seen the Marvel, so that's the Marvel movies. So I think this movie doesn't suffer from that, from not knowing the Aquaman background. That's what I'm getting at. And it's not that they don't know the Aquaman background. It's that it's a poorly written script. It's just all over the place, and they force these jokes in there that about brothers and stuff fighting and whatever, and it's like, what? And at one point, at 2 points in the movie, they feel that they break the show don't tell rule of Hollywood. Show don't tell is, don't narrate everything and tell the reader what's going on because it's confusing. Show the reader what's going on in some sort of flashback or some other sequence. They did that to death in the Eternals, yes. They did not do that right there. They actually showed and tell, and it doesn't work. I'll admit the Eternals wasn't the greatest, even though it was done by an Oscar-winning director. She didn't know how to do action movies. She said by her own admission, I've never done an action movie. I don't know what I'm doing. But the person that was doing this clearly did action movies and knew what that was about. So we have several action set pieces. But it's cringe in the beginning. It's absolutely cringe. Jason Momoa acting with the baby and the father at the lighthouse. We don't care about any of that shit. Why is that shit in the movie? It's like, oh God. It was like, oh my God. Just oh man. And the bad guy finds the space ore, the ancient Atlantean space ore, and the bad guy tells the audience what happened to this other kingdom and how that happened and how he got the trident, because he touches the trident and it tells him the black trident. Gee, this isn't some kind of weird racial stereotype thing, is it? It probably is. And in the comics, it probably was too, because it was the 60s. Aquaman goes back to the 60s, so. Then the 70s cartoon show. Of which the brother, who's a blonde, looks more like Aquaman from the G1 cartoon, the Super Friends. So G1 Aquaman, and you got G2. Of course, they kind of made him look like Unlimited, Justice League Unlimited Aquaman. Does that man look different? And they sort of have this third guy that's sort of him too, and he's got like the beard, and it's a different guy, but it's the Justice League Unlimited guy. And they got a funny crustacean guy who loses his claw at one point. Again. And that's the joke. He loses it again. A thinly veiled penis reference. Also, it was funny that when you first see the bad guy's ship, that looks like a very Jules Vernean looking thing, and a lot of the old tech looks Jules Vernean. That was very cool. The tech, nothing wrong with that. CG, pretty good. The story, pretty good. All the action set pieces. I mean, you could tell at the times where they had Action Amber floating around, Action Amber, the mermaid, that she actually wasn't there, and it was clearly some sort of CGI, like, she zapper thing, or whatever. You could clearly tell that she wasn't actually in that scene. They just dubbed it in there to make it look more exciting. And they get to Antarctica from Maine, like, instantly, like, they're just there. The bad guys get there first, somehow. The sub wasn't that fast, was it? Didn't look that fast. Like Jules Verne sub. But yes, it was funny that I did say to seeing this as sub rising out of the water phallically, going through the water like boing. It's all energizing space dildo. Because it really did look like a big dick. It was like boing. That was funny. And they did it twice. They wanted to let you know this giant metallic black phallus was like boing. Clearly, it was his robot penis that he had to put on, like the suit, and they can give him a bigger penis. But yes, it clearly was, and he had lots of semen helping him. So, oh no, but yes, yeah. And why were they helping him? Were they part of a cult? They didn't explain that. They were just going to help you. Except for the James Wan stand-in, Mr. Park, who was in it. It was a short round, I think. I think that's who that is. Yeah. And he was in it. It wasn't James Wan, it was his stand-in. He was meant to be the director. Wasn't him, it was Mr. Park. But yeah. And I may have the name wrong, but I think that's who that was. Yeah. But we have it's really odd. Tried to like it. Some of the set pieces are amazing, the stuff, and then they do something stupid, and yeah, where they put a wisecrack in there that doesn't fit. Like, randomly, characters saying, we just beat this bad guy. Yeah, we're teaming up, but then we're gonna betray each other, but then we're gonna team up again. It's like, that's so cliched. Oh my gosh, it's trying not to be Zack Snyder, who wouldn't do that, but it comes off as being like pseudo Zack Snyder, like it is that, because he did stuff like that in his movies, just not as much. It's very Snyderverse. It's not James Gunnverse, the new stuff. It's very Snyder. Now, Superman is a Boy Scout. They must remember this. Superman does not fight the giant spider. Superman does not like get all angsty and mad and want to fight people. That's Lex Luthor or some other, villain. That's Darkseid, or that's one of the bad guys that he fights. Not him. He's the all-American Boy Scout. He's the other he's the other Captain America. So he's the DC Captain America. Superman, truth, justice, and the American way. No, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't get angsty, because that's not Superman. That's Batman. Yeah, that's the way it has to be. And Wonder Woman doesn't get angsty either. So that Wonder Woman 1984 was crap, because let's make it a body swap comedy because we want Gal Gadot's husband to be in it, but we won't explain. They had to tell the audience, okay, this is Gal Gadot's husband. It's not really creepy, even though you think it is. Body swap movie. It was creepy because the audience didn't know that. They were like, aha, and then they had to read about it later. If you have to watch a movie, same thing with the Marvels, had the same problem in a way. If you have to have a lot of preliminary material and read up on it before you watch your movie, you screwed up somewhere. The Aquaman movie doesn't have quite that problem, though. I think everybody gets the Arthur Curry thing, even though they kind of go on in their own way with Aqualad and all that. But what it is missing is that it's trying so hard to be cool, and it's like a fanfic of Aquaman. And it's like, oh my god. Not only do we get exposition about the bad guys in this land of hellish land, the Necro land and the Necro King and all that, we get this twice, cause G1 Aquaman brother guy gets the Trident at one point and he touches it, and he's also zapped. And he sees the evil kingdom and then explains it to everyone else and the audience. It's like, no, that's not how you do that. That's so not how you do that. Now, if I was going to direct one of these movies, I would be like, okay, I would have a prologue. And in the prologue, I would have the two kings of Atlantis, Atlan and the Murder King, the king of the other land, going at it and say like, okay, I'm evil and I'm good, and have them fighting a little bit and have them say like, I've made this evil trident, may no one find it ever, and then they fight. I mean, like the other guy says that, yeah, and they fight each other, and then basically the bad guy's defeated. The good guy one goes, yes, I will hide this forever so that my evil twin will never find it, and then they just find it like lying on the ground. They didn't seal it away somewhere. It's just found on the ground later. How did that happen? The bad guy, Mantis, just walks up to it and finds it. They're looking around in the Atlantean ice cave, and there's a creature in there and all that, but that's the Guardian, I guess. But the thing is just on the ground. They just literally pick it up and go like, oh, it's the evil trident. Yeah, don't do that. Have them find it, have them dig it out of the ground, kind of like they did with Thor's hammer, do that. Moni calls. Moni called. Okay, so we're back to his sister. Anyway, so yes, the one that's more liberal than me. Anyway, so here we are back again and discussing this Aquaman movie. Yeah, I really didn't have much more to say about it, except the nice action pieces. They were okay, but sometimes the CG was a little funky. The Jules Verne-esque fight sequence with the sort of the octopod ship was all right, although parts of that looked kind of fake, like when they showed like a piece of he's got to grab something from it. It didn't quite match the model. It was a little off. But I guess they CG'd in later the creature around him, and then with the green screen, because obviously they didn't build that. It was a model. So we've got, what was the overall consensus of the film? What was the the Amber Heard thing wasn't a problem. They cut her mostly out of the movie. Kind of Jason Momoa cracking jokes in your movie that's, it's silly. They're mer people, basically. Is a little goofy, but okay, that's fine. But it just kind of didn't fit. Their camaraderie seemed a little strained, like they were trying too hard to be funny and edgy at the same time. Even the bait and switch things or whatever, you think he's going to betray him thing, and the evil thing zaps him, and you think he's going to turn him evil. Do you think the baby's in jeopardy of getting killed? Of course not. And it wasn't. And his blood DNA is the magic that activates the thing. Of course, there's magic blood in it. Was there did by chance Roberto Orci help to write this? Because it kind of seems like it. That would make sense if it was Orci that wrote this. I don't think he did, though. I don't think he was in the credits, but maybe under pseudonym. But yes, poor Roberto Orci. But yeah, it's just kind of a mess. The whole I mean, and now that it's, hours later now, the other thing, one of like, I know now, a couple hours, about an hour later, an hour and a half. They didn't need the villain and the other guy to espouse what was going on with the bad guy, like ancient empire, which wouldn't have existed anymore, frozen in ice. That's not how ice works. But why in these sci-fi fantasy movies do they flash freeze a guy and then they can thaw him out? No. The only part that was kind of amusing, that kind of worked as a joke, was that Arthur Curry, the Aquaman, says, we want to disrupt their sonic gun with something that's louder, and they get a bunch of whales and killer whales and dolphins to surround the ship and blast it with their sonar, even though it's incredibly silly, but in that scene it actually works, because whale song is really loud. So, that actually would work. The whales save the day. It isn't save the whales, it's the whales save the day. Right, so. Yeah, so. Right on. Oh my goodness. Oh. So, there were some parts that worked. The audience was minimal. It was 9 on a Friday. So opening day was technically yesterday at about 3 on Thursday. So it came out a day early so they could cheat the embargo at this theater anyway. I didn't have the embargo because I'm not in DC, so I could have gone. I'm not a reporter for a newspaper, so I could totally go to this movie because I'm not a. So they're like, yeah, come on in. Well, no, I paid for it. A ticket. Well, the matinee show. So, yeah, I guess I get to the rating then, because I was almost done, really. It was just kind of a mess. Clearly, major parts of it were reshot to make it look more action-packed. They attack the island and all that thing. The island seems like the ending. And then it's actually the Ice Kingdom at the end, which I think they probably... It almost looks like they tacked that part on and reshot the whole thing, because the middle isn't matched. And then the father guy does get injured by the Manta guy. But he's not killed. He's just injured. Nobody died, really. I mean, technically people died off screen when they fell, and Stunt Man got messed up. At one point they throw them off a building. It looks like kind of... oh, that looks like it hurt. Oh, the guys were commenting. Yeah, but no, it was a stunt. And no, it was the last second right there. It was CG. They did not throw Jason Momoa off a 20-foot high rise onto the ground, onto metal. No, it was either a stuntman. It was CGI stuntman. Looks like him, but it's not him. Yeah. That was one of the previews. They advertised that Fall Guy preview again. And I noticed what was wrong with it this time. Where's the Fall Guy song? That was the Fall Guy song. That was the guy, Lee Majors, Bionic Man played it. Anyway, so the Fall Guy song. Fast with a girl named Bo. Even though I don't think Bo Derek did any action movies, really. She did, I think there was one car one, but it wasn't, there wasn't a lot of stunts now. Cheryl Teague, yes, but not so much. I guess they couldn't use those word names because it didn't make sense, but they could have had they should have had that in there. They should have had the jingle in there. They gotta have the jingle. Yeah, what's wrong with it? It was a jingle. That should have been in the credits somewhere. Come on, guys. Because I'm the unknown stunt man. So there you go. There's my adventure saga thingy. Aquaman, Lost Kingdom. I'm not going to say that it was completely awful and crap. It wasn't completely awful, but it wasn't good. It just wasn't good. It was somewhere between the good parts of the Flash and the Blue Beetle and all of the, with I'll rate it among DC movies, not Marvel ones. I'd say it's on a par with the first Wonder Woman movie, which the two first acts were good, the third was not. Got stupid. But that doesn't make it as good as that, really. Parts of it were like 84. Parts of it were like Batman v Superman, with a lot of things punching each other and stuff like that. I was not that impressed with Man of Steel. He was too angry. Superman should not have been angry. He's a Boy Scout. He's above that. Stop. I think James Gunn doing Legacy makes sense, because probably he'll be a little more like a Boy Scout now in that comic book. Yeah. And the TV shows DC does better with. The TV shows and the cartoons, they did Long Dark Halloween like last year. They did the whole miniseries of a comic adaptation of the comic book Long Dark Halloween. Well, maybe it was the year before last. And that was actually really good. They know how to do it. It was one of the last performances of the late great Kevin Conroy. So yeah, Aquaman 2. No, this movie's gonna tank. It sucks. It kind of sucks. Okay, I'm gonna give my star rating now. 2.5 stars. It was not 3 stars. It wasn't there. It's average out of 5. 2.5 out of 5. That's yeah. I'm sure that we're gonna have. There's gonna be a review of Campy's gonna, not us. What's it gonna be a Campy? There's gonna be an Angry Joe review fairly soon of it as well. I don't know if Stone Gremlins is still doing reviews, but maybe he will. But I'm sure that we'll probably. Well, I'm not sure, but maybe we'll get the Nostalgia Critic will come back and do one. I think he'll probably do one, because he'll at least talk about it, because it is the biggest superhero movie this month, so maybe they'll talk about it. It could have been better. They could have improved this movie tremendously. I think they probably should have, like I said, they should have had a preview where they explain about the evil Trident and the good Trident and the two kings going in the ice. The one king leaving the bad guy in the ice. They could have done a preview like that and had like the Necro King and whatever, and had this preview, and then cut to in the house, and cut out all that shit with Arthur Curry playing with a baby. Doesn't need to be in the movie. We don't need that. Just because the director had a baby, don't put that in the movie. Cut out the shit with the baby. We don't need that in the movie. It's not necessary. Just show it once in a while. And write Amber Heard's character completely out of the movie. Don't include her at all. Say she's gone off on a mission somewhere and she's just not in the movie. Or recast her. Someone else. Give her more lines. If you're only going to give her about 6 minutes of screen time, don't include her in the movie. She doesn't need to be in the movie. It's not that I care either way about Johnny Depp's relationship with his ex. Don't either way. But it's like too much baggage. It doesn't need to be in there. Like I said, they couldn't have done Flash over again because Ezra Miller's all over the movie. They couldn't have reshot it. But the Kang Dynasty stuff over there at Marvel was getting old because they didn't like the results of the Ant-Man movie. And they're like, well, do we really want Jonathan Majors anyway? So we're kind of like backpedaling, and they're over there and they're kind of saying like, well, we were kind of thinking not to do Kang Dynasty anyway because it's a little controversial and weird. Getting someone else would be controversial and weird. And like I said during the Godzilla 01 review, well, why don't they just go there and not pussyfoot around it and just recast Kang as someone else, but make Kang more close to the comic books and get Oscar-winning actress who's already been in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, Michelle Yeoh, to play Kang, the Kang variant. I think that would be awesome, and they need to do that over there. They do that. It's just all right. You're going to be the Kang variant. What? Okay. That way they would have like a weird dichotomy. They were like, how can the Avengers fight? And the Avengers aren't even assembled anymore. So who's gonna fight them? Is it Spider-Man's off to school, and what's his name is, hold on. Spider-Man's off to school and they're pretending Spider-Man isn't there anymore. Doctor Strange was never technically in the Avengers. He's not there. Cap is gone, and now he's old. The other Captain America is around, but apparently that new movie has issues. Oh my god, I can't say, but Captain America: Strange New World, they're reshooting most of it. It's a mess. Partly because of the TV show that it was based on, and that they figured out nobody's going to know what the show was about. But even there, all you need to do is what they did in Ms. Marvel, and have us introduced to little Miss Marvel's family, and that scene where they go back and forth. And that's fine. That's all you need. They could have taken the body swap stuff out. Why did they take a page from Wonder Woman 84 and do body swapping in that movie? They didn't need to do that. They could have just had teleportation. That would have made a hell of a lot more sense. We had teleportation. And then it's just like she appears and she must have teleported me. Okay. That's not body swapping, it's teleportation. So it's different. But still, they did introduce the parents and the daughter, and then you're all, okay, I'm all set. I'm all catched up. I'm caught up. I get it. That's all I got to do with this new Captain America show too. They don't need to show all the backstory, whatever. They show him on the boat from the show, but reintroduce everybody just a little bit, and the chemistry between him and the Winter Soldier, and then go on, like 5 minutes with them, and then go on to the next thing. We're gonna go meet up with secret agent, U.S. agent and stuff. That's what you need to do. Take my word. And yes, you're doing that Fantastic Four movie. Yeah, don't go with the fans wanted some guy that doesn't make sense. Don't do that. You might even set your Fantastic Four movie in the past, just to mess with it. Have it set in the 70s, just to have it be like earlier. Henry Cavill is not coming back as Superman. Get over it. Just get over it. He was too angry as a Superman. It's a little better when they sort of remade him a little bit, but not by much. No, they could have done some interesting things with that Zack Snyder thing, but I've already been on that. But these movies are the leftovers from the Zack Snyder thing. It was just another reason people are turned off by the DC movies. It's still said that the worst Marvel movie is the best DC movie, which is, how come they can't figure that out? They got one of their guys over there now. They got James. So Gunn. So they should be able to figure it out. And the newer ones are under Kevin Feige and that other guy, and that's why it kind of threw it off, because it wasn't all Kevin Feige. It was the other guy, and the studio was interfering a little bit. They can blame it on the studio. I blame it on the dreaded franchise fatigue, and that they were just doing too many of them. They were all kind of similar. That's what it was, franchise fatigue. And then they probably booted me out to the studio. I'm just kidding. I was never in the studio. I'm just kidding. I've been to the parks, but never the studio. Like 8 years ago. But Mark's Cards and I did pitch the premise that became Strange World. So, oh well, we know how well that movie went. Nobody went to see it. Shitty marketing. Oh, we didn't really, but we pitched an idea that was very, very similar. Prince going on an adventure to find his prince. Yeah, it's the plot of that movie. But yes, anyway, so 2.5 stars, Aquaman, and yeah, Aquaman and the Lost Boring Kingdom of the Necromancer, Dead People. Kingdom of the Dead, basically. Would have been a better title. Still really silly. Also, how the hell did... There were scenes that did not... Okay, before I go, there were at least 2 or 3 scenes where on land switches to on water and back with no explanation. There's a scene where the bad guy traps another bad guy, and they're like down in this thing, and they're clearly underwater, and they're in their suits. But then suddenly, in the next moment, they're on land, and they've gotten back up, and they're going to get the nuke thing or whatever, coming out of the thing. How are they on land all of a sudden? They didn't explain. They're just suddenly on land. They didn't come out of the water. They're just on land. Wait a minute. there's a scene missing. There was another one later on in the Trident chamber and the other thing. There was one at the very end like that. There were scenes that were changed or cut, and they didn't realize, holy shit, we forgot to animate the CG bubbles in or something and made it look like they were on land. You know, we know they are on land, and just made their hair all funky. No, the hair was a little better. You could tell that all of the underwater stuff, when their hair was flowing, was CG later. You could kind of tell it was like made funky and wasn't moving like it was underwater at all. But that's all right. It was this weird like transition a couple of times. Also, how the fuck the Black Manta steals this Atlantean technology from 2,000 years ago, or 4,000, maybe even longer, 4,000 years ago, and reactivates it with how? I don't care if you're the most brilliant technician on naval vessels or whatever it is. It's an alien ship, basically. How the hell are you programming that and making that work? It's not going to happen. And don't tell me that at the end, like, they're all like, when the one guy betrays the bad guys by sending the signal in English, transmission sent, that they found a way to translate Atlantean on the ship to English. How? Maybe throw in a line of dialogue in there saying, we've been studying Atlantean technology for like 3 years, and we can translate it into English. Just throw a line in there, even though it doesn't make sense. It'll make sense in the movie. It's fantasy. I understand. The fantasy writer, that's fantasy, right? So throw in, he says, we figured out how to translate the Atlantean manuals that tell us how to fly this thing. Or steer it underwater. I guess float this thing. It's a sub. And we figured it out. So now we've translated the screens to English so you can read them. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. There, you have a line thrown in there. Because there you have to show and tell. Because there you that's a plot hole otherwise. But yeah, you don't need to explain the Black Trident. Just show that in flashbacks. It's fine. It's evil. An evil stick. You used to fight a guy with an evil stick. And it's really easy to find said evil stick down in the cave. Even though there's a giant squid thing guiding it, it's just sitting there on the ground. Maybe there was a deleted scene where it was hidden away and the thing let it out or something. But you'd think with all their security system, they wouldn't do that. When they stockpiled the evil nuke stuff, and greenish sort of slime, basically. Nickelodeon slime. Nuke slime. Nickelodeon slime, yes. Yes, it's a crossover with Family Double Dare. Who knew?